Good morning. Welcome to Saturday's Early Morning Intuitive Guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum. Here are some words of wisdom to start your day. And we have an interesting topic today. And I'll be interested to see what all of you have for responses to today's topic. And as usual, I'm bringing in extra material to augment the part that I'm going to read out of Outrageous Openness, one of my favorite tomes. It's actually little, it's not even a tome, but more like bathroom reading, but very, very high vibration bathroom reading. So I think what we should start with, and there's our first person. Good morning, Barb. Glad you're here. You're the first one popping on. And usually once one of you finds me, then others start rolling in relatively quickly. So good morning, good morning. I'm going to grab a drink here. I feel like it's so loud in here with the air conditioner and the fan on after a couple of days of bliss of having them turned off. But it again got very humid yesterday, so I think it made it up to 82. Today I think we're only getting to 72. Much more my kind of weather. So, good morning, Ruth Ann. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. So, again, I want to point out, for those of you who are here watching this live, there's an extra message in here for you. Good morning, Beth. Hello, welcome. Glad you guys are here. So, I think let's start with a round of tapping. And I may put some words to it, I may not. We'll see how it goes as we get rolling, how spirit moves me. But it feels like clearing space, creating the clearing, the open field in which we can hold space for change, welcome change. 103. Oh my God, girlfriend. No. That's no. Oi. And I know there are people who love the heat, absolutely love the heat. I am not one of them anymore. So, I hope you love the heat. Oof. All right, so a round of tapping to open ourselves, to step into the open field, to be ready, willing, and able to receive this message. Let's see what we get. So, side of the hand by the baby finger, and that's sort of a reset button. So if at any point you're doing tapping or any other kind of work and you're feeling like this just isn't working, try tapping here. Reset, reset, reset. And then go back to whatever it was you were doing, whatever tool you were using. Breath, tapping, journaling, whatever. Inside corner of the eyebrows, which really is essentially tapping your third eye, right? Outside corner of the eyes. Good morning, Carolyn. We're just doing a round of tapping to bring ourselves into the present and into the open field, ready for change. Under the eyes. Miss Piggy and Kermit, they always make me smile. Under the nose. Under the mouth. Just opening ourselves up to receiving this message. Collarbone. Because one of the things I think this message today does is it frees us. It frees us up. And what happens when we're freed up? We act with more abandon. And we create more happenings, if you want to look at it that way. Under the arms, like where your bra strap runs across, which is also good for moving lymph fluid. So we have this whole lymph system that's vital for our body flushing out things that are not good, but it doesn't get a whole lot of workout. So good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. It doesn't have its own pump like your heart does. Goof morning. Yes, we can have a goof morning. Let's do that. Let's do that. And then around the crown of your head, wake up, brain. Wake up, wake up. Be wise, be strong. Nice deep breath in. Let it go. And what we are reading today comes from Tosha Silver's Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead. And it is it's page 192 in my book, A World Without You. a world without you. And this is really designed to give you perspective. So open yourself to a perspective shift, and let's see what you think. Again, this is one of those chapters that has 2 quotes at the beginning, and we all know that when we get a 2-quote chapter, it's going to be really good stuff. So the first quote is from Jesus of Nazareth. Be in this world, but not of it. Be in this world, but not of it. And the second quote is from the Bhagavad Gita. There has never been a time when you and I have not existed, nor will there be a time when we cease to be. Therefore, play the role you're meant for now. All right, so here's the story she's going to share with us. Every yoga practice ends with Shavasana, the corpse pose. Laura, one of my teachers, always says it's the most advanced of all. Complete detachment from this world, unclenching the spirit and the mind. So I want you to think about that. If this is your spirit and your mind, it's unclenching. I like that. Unclenching, detachment. The other day in her class, we all entered Shavasana as usual, lying flat on our backs, eyes closed, palms to the sky. Good morning, Mel. Glad you're here. Welcome. I could hear the drone of Oakland traffic. An ambulance screeched by. Some hip-hop blared for a moment, then subsided. The smell of fresh rolls from the bakery below wafted up. As we drifted into deep relaxation, Laura said, imagine that you have already left this planet. And imagine that the world goes on without you perfectly. All is well. What if we viewed death and dying that way? It's merely a transition to whatever's next. It's not a terrible, horrible, awful thing to be avoided and postponed as much as possible. It's a natural culmination of having lived a life on Earth. Tosha says, I had already experienced this during that long stretch in the 80s when I was ill. Unable to work, walk, or even think straight, I was dead to this world without being fully gone. She had her endocrine system crash and pretty much 3 years of laying in bed doing nothing. Though I eventually healed, the experience completely altered my being. Before, I thought, like a true Capricorn with 4 Saturn squares, that work was my reason. In fact, my overexertion probably spawned the whole mess. No kidding, right? How many of us could wear the title workaholic? Desperately needing to be liked, well regarded, and most of all to matter, I worked night and day. But once my collapse came, I eerily saw the world continue quite well. And when I recovered in 1990, I was transformed. Nothing mattered as before. Seeing how easily I could be replaced or forgotten had been an odd gift and revelation. Once I returned from the underworld, I couldn't believe my incredible good luck just to eat a bowl of coconut soup in a Thai cafe or walk on a windy beach. The wonder never went away. How many of us live our days with wonder? Oftentimes I'll put myself in the position, that was interesting, in the position of wonderment. So the other day when we were sitting at the park and the deer were going through, wonderment. The songbirds being there, wonderment. Where were the geese? Where were the ducks? Asking the questions, being present. Ooh, there's the egret and one pelican. It was a paucity of birds the other day, which was interesting to me, but I paid attention. I paid attention to the fact that where are the birds? Where are the birds? The wonder never went away. This line, I think, is just so interesting. It's good to know both your specialness and your utter dispensability. The world will go on without us. It absolutely will. Does that mean that we need to take a dim view of ourselves? Absolutely not. We are the only us there's ever going to be. But all of these cells in our body are going to be elsewhere at some point. They'll be in the dirt, they'll be in a plant, they'll be consumed by an animal, maybe the animal gets consumed by a human, we become part of another human being. How interesting is this, right? It's good to know both your specialness and your utter dispensability. Then you can let go and embrace it all. You can play your role in this exquisite, absurd story. That park is amazing, and it's a hidden gem. Not that many people know about it. Yeah, it is an amazing park. So for those of you who are in Appleton, Wisconsin, or come through here, Lutz Park, L-U-T-Z, yes. The birds by you have left already. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and we saw the geese beginning to circle, but I don't think they've taken off yet. They're practicing. They're doing their practice runs. You can play your role in this exquisite, absurd story with complete abandon. You can be a melting snowflake, a drifting leaf, or a nature spirit dancing in a pond. And if you touch any heart with what you do, for the brief moments you are here, that is enough. I love that. I had to read that part again. And if you touch any heart with what you do, for the brief moments you are here, that is enough. That is enough. We are enough. We're doing enough. Enough, enough, enough. So that's our chapter for today. But I also want to talk to you because it segues beautifully, and I'm sure some of you have already read this book, but I'm just getting to it now. It is Being Mortal by Atul Gawande, and it's medicine and what matters in the end. And he's talking about end-of-life stuff and how we've turned it into a medical procedure instead of how do we support people. Yes, I love that too. At end of life, you know, maybe even their last several years, to live the best life they can live. And how do we maximize their gifts back to the world? They still have a lot to give. Hang on, it's hanging right here. It'll drop in. I would like us all to consider our end of life. How do you want to go out? And not just how do you want to go out, but how do you want your last days, weeks, months, years to be? What would allow you to get to the end of your life, if you're still aware, saying, that was a great run. I lived it. I did what I wanted to do. How do we adjust our world so that we're doing a better job of caring for elderly people? And I'm not going to call them the elderly people. People, that people part doesn't go away. We have young people, we have, you know, all these stages, and all these stages of humanness deserve attention and deserve us asking, what's most important for us to support for this particular group of people at this particular time? And again, kind of like Tosha's saying, there's the specialness of each person, so there's going to be differences in what they need. So as we've been exploring assisted living, not for soon, but at some point, wanting to know what are some good places around here that if, God forbid, Dad were to fall and not be able to be here at home, what's a good place for him to be? So we've looked at 3. 2 out of the 3 would be lovely. That's the importance of looking. Really don't want to have to move someone after they've just arrived because it's not a good fit. You want to know ahead of time. I myself was eyeballing these places. Like, hey, you know, however long down the road, if I get to the point where I can't be on my own, or whoever loves me can't maintain me at home, what's a good place for me to be? Asking the questions. We also had a visit this week with the palliative care nurse, and it was so wonderful. It was so good. Are we ready for palliative care? No. But having her here and having her ask the questions, because I'll ask the questions and nobody wants to answer. But when she asked the questions, they were put in the position of answering. So it allowed for some very useful conversations, because everybody, when you're not talking about it, everybody in their mind thinks they know what other people are thinking, and they're wrong. They're wrong. And you know who's especially wrong? Married couples. They like to assume they know exactly what their partner's thinking, and they're kind of about it. And oftentimes they're wrong. So, if you're one of those people, ask, what are you thinking about this? I don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, when you're ready to talk about it, let me know what you're thinking about this, because I think I know what you're thinking, but I could be totally off base. Walk away, let it go, that's fine. But you're planting seeds, right? And some of those seeds will blossom. So, I planted a seed with Dad. Would you like to go look at some of these places? But I said, I know what I would pick out for you. I know what I would pick out for me. But I would like to know what you would pick out for you. And I know you'll pick home, if at all possible. But with 5 steps into the house, no accessible bathroom, tight corners, blah, 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 there may come a point where we can't maintain you at home. So let's pick out the next best place. Having the opportunity to talk about this stuff. So the book is, it says, wise and deeply moving, an essential and insightful book of our times from one of the finest physician writers. And he's talking about some of his relatives and their life stories, and how he saw some of those end in ways that he wished they hadn't ended. And yes, absolutely. Keep planting seeds. Keep speaking your truth. What I've discovered is it's not, let's sit down and have a conversation. That's not how it's going to work, other than maybe when the palliative nurse is here. But, and he did say he was okay with her coming back in a month. Yay! So, opportunity's knocking. But, even when it's someone who has a hard time expressing themselves, doesn't want to talk about this stuff, it can be taking little opportunities. So, it might even be saying, yeah, one of the things I watched today, she was talking about this book called Being Mortal. I think I'm going to get it and read it. Maybe leave it sitting on the coffee table. You never know. But it can also be, I read this interesting page today, blah, blah, blah. Let it go. Walk away. So it's planting little things, like you're casting the seeds to see what lands where, right? Take the opportunity. Keep doing this work. I don't want to get to the point where it's like, to hell with it, I'm not going to say anything. And I've gotten there periodically. But having the palliative care nurse come was really helpful for opening a variety of doors. So now I can go back and say, when the nurse was here and we talked about blah, 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 and he may not remember. That's okay. Well, she said this, and then I said this, and then you said that. And I'm wondering, can you tell me a little more about that? Because I wasn't sure what you meant by that. And he might say, I don't remember saying it. So be it. So be it. But then I could also say, well, my thought was blah, blah, blah. Does that chime for you at all? Having the opportunity to have some of this conversation, even though people don't want to. So one of the things I'm going to do, my sister gave me this book. She read it, and she said, this fits with where I'm at with regard to Dad. So I'm reading it. When I'm done, I'm going to ask her, how about if we give this to Dad to read? And he may throw it across the room, he may read a little bit, he may open it up here and there, whatever. It's an opportunity. And we need the opportunities to talk about this stuff. We need the opportunities to talk about more than just, yeah, don't resuscitate, don't intubate, don't blah, blah, blah. There's much more to talk about than that. It can be the talking about, how would you like to be remembered? What's the most important thing to you that extended family remembers about you? What's the most important thing you'd like to have at your funeral? What do you envision for your funeral? Do you have certain music you want? Blah, blah, blah. And I could see doing that with people my age, my friends. I would be, when Diane and I are sitting in the park, I might say to her, what do you want for your funeral? Because she had to do that with her mother, have that conversation. Yes, it might feel a little awkward, but sometimes if you're going to get the information at all and not have to wing a bunch of shit, you need to ask. And someone might say, why are we talking about this? I'm not planning on dying for 40 years. Well, that's all well and good, but some people it's tomorrow. We don't know. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are, what your wishes are. So, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this was some grist for your mill. Hopefully this opens some doors of conversation that might not otherwise have opened. If you have questions or thoughts, kind of like Barb said about her husband having a hard time expressing himself, put them in the feed. Let's get some conversation rolling here. And this might be a great topic for us, those of you who jump on our monthly Unity Cafe Zoom call. This might be a great topic for us to talk about. Death and dying. What do you want for yourself? What are you most afraid of? What do you envision for the people around you? Blah, blah, blah. Who have you had conversations with? Who haven't you had conversations with? Working on your funeral now. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yep. And I've had some conversations with my family, and they haven't been overly open to it. So I said to my son, I don't want to be laying around in a casket. Cremate me, sprinkle me in your garden, I'll make good fertilizer. Mom, that's gross. Whatever. So we'll figure it out. Anyway, for those of you who aren't on my email list for, it's usually a Sunday. It's usually at 7 a.m. Central Time, the Zoom Unity Cafe. That great topic? All right, good. That's our next topic. I'll write it down so I don't forget. And let me check when the date is for our next Unity Cafe. Oh, it is actually next week Sunday, so a week from Sunday, the 31st. We also were going to talk about communication from Sharon Ellison. Same gist. Let's see. So put down wishes for end of life. Cool. All right. So if you're not on my mailing list for that and you would like to be a part, mom and brother, yes. No, it's not easy, especially when people are not good at communicating and still buy into death and dying are taboo subjects. So 31st, 7 a.m. Central Time, Unity Cafe. If you're not on my mailing list, add me to the mailing list, Bonnie@empowermentandpurpose.com. Or you can send me a private message on here too. That would be fine. I'll need your email address in order to add you. So I think that's enough chatting for today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.